Hi, everybody. First of all, thanks for the opportunity to speak, and I want to thank SSP for inviting me as well, and to share our story as an organization. And I'm going to start at the 100,000 foot level today, and then dig into several examples of what we've been doing over the past 2 years as part of our journey. But before I do that, I want to get a sense of who is here in the audience with us. So how many of you are from professional societies, first of all? Good number of you. And how many of you are publishers? May not be two different things. And how many are consultants or from other, okay, few. And what about technology providers? We have a few. Good, it's a good blended audience. Well, thanks, because I always like to know who's in the audience before I start these things. I'm short, hold on one second. Much better. All right, well, ASPV, like many of you, has a very long and proud history of publishing highly regarded research. We've been around for more than 90 years, and we've been fortunate enough to be successful doing that, and it has supported our operations and our mission quite well. But things have changed. I don't know if anybody's noticed that over the past few years, our landscape has changed, and there's a lot of different things going on, including the open availability of research content and data, new content delivery systems and technologies. Digital transformation is changing the way we work. It's changing the way customer service happens and education happens, how publishing happens. I mean, we could go on and on with that as well. Behaviors are changing. You know, millennials and Gen Z and Gen Y and beyond, their expectations and motivations are completely different from anything we've experienced before. And also the funding environment is challenging at best, in particular for the plant sciences. And finally, it looks like science in many ways are in fear. It is becoming much more interdisciplinary. All right, what we're seeing is lots of disciplines coming together to solve complex global challenges. And that's actually a good thing. That's actually an opportunity, as many of these other things I just talked about are, if we look at it the right way. But some of that list makes us want to hide under our desk and cower in fear. So I want to start by talking about digital transformation, because that's what this is all about. So how many of you heard of that term? Oh, good. I'm glad. Okay. And how many of you believe your organization or company has initiatives or projects around digital transformation going on right now? That's a good sign as well. Good. But first I want to break it down, and I want to talk a little bit, and I want to sort of set a clear definition for what digital transformation is and is not. And I always like to start with what it's not. Okay, so just to be clear, and you all probably know this, digital transformation doesn't, I want to make things in something years and years and years and use technology to put it online. That's not what digital transformation is. Sounds good, I want to make things more efficient, I can do all kinds of things with technology, but that's not digital transformation. What digital transformation is really an entire shift of how we do what we do, okay? And the behaviors that are an outcome of it. Another way to look at it is it's an intersection of what we do, how we do it, and technology. And what's in the middle are new behaviors and new opportunities. Really, it's the disruptions that are happening in that area. So we're in a new order. I like to call this the new order of things, okay? And it's an interesting way to call it because it's really more of a disorder than an order. And in the past, our business processes and our models were really linear. You know, they made sense. They had steps. It was amazing. It was clear. It was concise. Okay? And this made sense for us in a lot of ways, and it worked for most of us financially. It worked really well, and we were very comfortable in these processes. But why? So why should we even bother changing? Essentially, our new world looks more like this. Actually, it's a lot messier than this. Okay? It's much more multidimensional. Okay? And our ability to mix and remix information and content and products is pretty infinite. All right, and this is happening in different ways, creating new experiences. And the other thing is that it's just not companies or organizations or experts creating these new experiences. It's individuals and it's people. And we don't want to be standing on the sidelines while this is happening. The other thing to consider, and this is a painful point, that in the past, how we looked at experts and authority and who is in charge of the knowledge and the content was very clear. Okay? There are two groups of people, essentially. There were the experts and the authorities, and there was everybody else. Well, those lines have been a bit blurred in our new world, and it looks a little bit more like this. Because we are now in a situation where many go to the community, okay, for knowledge and for content to learn new things. And some simple examples are Wikipedia or Reddit or ratemyprofessor.com or any online review source. All of those are places where we would go to get information. Stay with me here, this is relevant, I promise. New technology has also made it possible for individuals to have more control than ever before. So self-publishing, let's talk about that for a minute. Self-publishing started with blogging, okay? So I was able to blog and publish my works. Well, guess what? Now I can go to Amazon and self-publish my books or my own titles. I can even promote them myself because the digital landscape allows me to do that. Musicians can create their own music, produce their own music, create a distribution mechanism for it and promote it all by themselves. Uber and Airbnb have disrupted entire business models by putting control in the hands of the users. All they've done is create a framework to do it, okay? And finally, the subscription economy is totally taking off, right? So I can subscribe to underwear. I can subscribe to dog treats. I can subscribe to food. And you can even now subscribe to cars. Volvo just started a subscription service, a monthly subscription service to cars. All right, and I just wanted to talk about this because I want us to think about what's going on out there, all right? And then we look back at ourselves, and yeah, maybe we're doing a few innovative things, but a lot of what we're doing is still stuck in a 20th century model. So we have to ask ourselves, why should we change? Why should we change something that has worked so well for so long for us? It's made us financially successful. It made sense. It had those steps that I talked about. Why not just dig in our heels and refine that process, refine that model, make it shiny again, make it work, right? Because that seems to make sense. Well, in the end, I think what it comes down to is whether you want to be a Netflix or a Blockbuster. And I think we can all kind of walk away and understand who decided to dig their heels in their existing model and who didn't, and who evolved and continues to evolve as the landscape changes. So I'm going to get off of my digital transformation soapbox, and I'm going to talk now about ASPV's journey, not our journal. Several years ago, we realized that we needed to evolve as an organization, okay? We knew that we needed to start thinking about how would we be successful in the future. So we did this by focusing on what we call the 3 R's. That's relevance, revenue, and resilience, okay? And we did that through partnering with IDEO. How many of you have heard of IDEO? A few of you, okay. They're design thinking consultancy. And out of that work together, we essentially walked away with 2 big things. One was a series of concepts for digital products, most of which were content products, that would be of value to the community, that we could potentially diversify our revenue stream with, right, and support the community. And the other was somewhat of a refreshed strategic approach for ASPV in general. See, historically, ASPV has been a publisher that basically had a few members and a meeting. We were very good, and we still are, at being a publisher, all right? But we didn't put a lot of focus and effort into our strategy around the community and everything else, all right? And the IDEO work, we walked away with this refreshed strategy, and that refreshed strategy was to focus on the community. Sounds really simple. We're an association. We should be doing that, all right? Well, what does that mean? The first thing we had to do was really decide and define who that community was, all right? So our old model thinking would have us go back and say, oh, our community, yeah, we're going to focus on our members. That's not really the whole picture. Our members are only a small subset of the entire community that was interacting with us over a period of 7 to 10 years. As a matter of fact, the larger community was 10 times the size of our paying members. So you have to ask yourself, is my paying member any more or less valuable than an author in one of our journals or a repeat attendee at one of our meetings? So this began some new thinking about evolving a membership model. That's another presentation. But we really had to take a much more broad and holistic on who our community was, because we had to understand that first. So once we understood that, that's great. Well, what does it really mean to focus on the community? So we have to support them with valuable products and experiences. We want to grow this community. We want to engage them. Well, how do we do that? Well, we knew we had some great ideas that we walked out of this work with IDEA with, okay? So, we're going to go back and we're going to create this new content and these new products and these new programs. And it's going to be really great. And then we're going to deliver them to the community. And then hopefully, we'll be able to diversify our revenue and do all the things that we set out to do. But if you look at this model, it looks really similar to that linear diagram we talked about earlier, okay? We knew we wanted to evolve how we approach this into more of an experience. So we developed what we call a capacity building model, okay? And this capacity building model, we created programs and collaborations alongside the community that provided opportunities to co-create new content, new programs, new experiences that would then be offered to the broader community, and so on and so forth. Is everybody with me here? Okay. So this is just setting up sort of the context from some of the things I'm going to show you. I'm going to go now into some examples and case studies of things that we've been working on over the past 18 months. And I'm going to start with a program that we launched about 18 months to 2 years ago. It's called the Planté Fellows Program. We launched this program because we knew we wanted to engage individuals in the community to help support the community. Individuals had to apply into the program. They had to provide writing samples, examples of their social media activities, and things like that. Once accepted into the program, they were given a list of ideas for things that they could do to contribute, to be part of the program, all right? And they were able to choose those things. And in return, what they got was visibility and recognition and experience and feedback, and they developed skills. And what we got as an organization was a group of highly engaged community members, a group of community network leaders, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, and a series of content products. So this is all about co-creation, okay? This group of individuals develops a blog post series on professional development. They curate resources on outreach and science communications and all types of things. They lead article discussions on research and live events online on the platform. We talked about community network leaders. Essentially, they're topical leaders that develop ideas, create ideas, and implement them on the community for engaging a group, collecting content, having in-person or online events, or both. They're launching a monthly live community chat. And what I really wanted to show you today was our premier product, which is currently called What We're Reading This Week. And essentially what this is a collection of weekly research summaries. So what happens is we have an internal editor who works with a handful of the fellows. They pick 12 to 15 papers in plant science from all of the major plant science journals that are interesting or emerging, and they write plain language summaries of them, and they get posted every Friday. You can read this on the site. People can subscribe via RSS, and now they can subscribe via email, and we are working to improve the subscription process by allowing subscription by topic as well. There's a few success stories coming out of this as well, and I just wanted to touch on this. One of our fellows used a year's worth of his summaries and created a portfolio on the platform himself. It's like a collection in Pinterest, essentially. And he shared this as part of his job process, his job search. And he was able he got a job as an assistant editor at the Journal of Experimental Botany. Gabriela is another one of our fellows who was very, very active and just started her own lab, and now she's become part of our steering committee that helps to innovate around all of these initiatives. So the engagement factor also for these individuals, they evolve with us. The next thing I want to talk to you about is a podcast we launched last year. And we currently have 2 seasons. We have 12 episodes. And for us, we're doing quite well with it. It's got a little over 35,000 downloads on this podcast so far. And this is interesting because one of the hosts is our editor-in-chief of one of our 3 journals. And essentially what they do is they pick a paper, again, from any of the major plant science journals and interview the author. And only the first 5 minutes or so is really about the science. But the rest of the conversation is all about a story that happened behind the science. So it could be about gender discrimination, graduate student depression, facing hate online on the internet because of the science you do, work-life balance. It really humanizes the science. So they're very insightful, sometimes tearful conversations. And this has gone over really well, but it all starts with the science, starts with the research, moves into a conversation, a meaningful conversation that happened, about a story that happened behind the science. So the next season's all about myth busting, so I'm really interested to see what happens. We are also an award finalist for Association Media and Publishing Excel Awards on this podcast, so we're really proud of this. All right, next program. We launched a program last year called the ASPV Scholars program, and this is open to undergraduate and graduate students. And it's only open to, well, we said 20, we accepted 21. We had 155 applications. And essentially, this was a 6-month focused learning program that included 8 different online webinar workshops. They got paired with mentors. They had class activities, writing assignments. They gave each other feedback. They had to produce scientific presentations, share them online. It was very intense. And as part of this program, they had to submit their independent projects, and those independent projects were, guess what? Different kinds of content. Okay, so we got a lot of content out of this, 20 individuals, and really brilliant stuff. We got infographics and videos, science communication videos, and yes, a knitted pattern, a plant science knitted pattern, a very creative group. Board games for use in outreach activities and all kinds of things. And in turn, we turned around and used this content to share with the community. So we could repurpose and repackage this along with other things and provide more value to the community. And out of this, of course, ASPV got 20 very engaged members and future leaders, definitely. They also, several have stepped up and they are interested in being TAs, teaching assistants, on the next round. And we got sponsorship dollars for this program. All right, shifting gears to meetings. I promise I'm almost done. Okay. In the earlier this year, we had a meeting called Phenome. And as part of this meeting, several of the organizers and community members decided it would be an interesting idea to create collections of papers and preprints that describe the science for each track that's going on at this conference. So essentially what they did was they curated a collection with a description and links to all of this information. And you could browse through it. You could see in the upper left there's a little table of contents. You can browse through it. You can go in and you can actually annotate and discuss there as well. We also did collaborative note-taking. So we had this online version here of all of the sessions that were going on at this meeting, and we used the platform also for the attendees to collaboratively take notes online. There was a little cleanup involved afterwards. This was an experiment. But the point is that now we have curated the science around the meeting and the notes around the meeting, and we wrapped it all up with a live webinar with 2 of the key speakers to having a discussion on key takeaways from this conference as well. And there was Q&A there. So this became a nice little evergreen package of information that wrapped up the experience around the meeting. I could see potential use for those curated research collections around these meetings in the future. I just don't know what that is yet. All right, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about one of our main journals. So the Plant Cell is hosted at Highwire, but we decided to leverage the Plantae website to create a landing page for the Plant Cell for several different reasons. We really wanted to increase the visibility and sort of amplify everything that was going on with the Plant Cell. All right, and we were creating a lot of additional content on top of the papers that are published. And so we decided to leverage the Planté site to publish this information because the site is in WordPress, and for you techies out there, WordPress is very SEO friendly, and we wanted to be able to improve our search rankings as well. So one of the things we've been doing is publishing author profiles, and we want to support the community. We want to give visibility to the authors and promote the fact that these are the authors. We also have short plain language summaries in a nutshell, and all of these are being published on the Planté landing page, but everything does link back, obviously, to the main journal site. We leveraged a group of individuals. We just started doing this more recently, the assistant feature editors, just to make sure I have that right. And it's a younger group of individuals to help us develop and create this content and publish this on the site. We also obviously have general news that we publish here as well. All right, so all of this meant to amplify, promote, give more visibility to everything going on around our main journal. We also worked with Altmetric. So anything that gets published on the Planté site that has a DOI counts towards the Altmetric score regarding that individual paper. So that's another incentive for us to continue to publish and promote the content, the plant science content on this site. Finally, my final example today is a seminar series. Essentially, this is a webinar series that we co-create with our community. And we started about a year ago, and these are topics are around research or tools or technology or soft skills, career development. Really, we were just trying to start somewhere and create some content. Well, now we're starting to see a pattern. People from the community are starting to raise their hand and want to run seminars. So we have individuals who have published papers in our journals who want to do a seminar about a tool they use in the process of their research. So again, this is adding another layer of depth to the scientific research that's getting published in our journals. We're also producing seminars on things like data management, which is going to turn into a series, which is going to turn into a certificate, self-paced learning module, if you will, and then it'll turn into a badge. So all of these things are evolving, but they're evolving side by side with the community. Yeah. Okay, I'm done. Okay, got it. I won't go through all the other initiatives, but I do have to brag a little bit because we did win an award from the Society for New Communications Research for the Planté community, and we're pretty proud of that as well. One thing I just want to mention. What we're finding now after all of this work is individuals and groups from the community are starting to approach us to want to use the platform and use the Planté sort of ecosystem to either publish their work or partner on a webinar, create additions to our searchable directory, launch learning modules and things like that. And one of the income streams we're starting to realize from this is people are starting to want to write us into their funding as part of those initiatives. And we never envisioned that before. But we're pretty excited about working with all of these different groups to that end. So anyway, back to the first question. Are we there yet? I don't think we'll ever get there because this is a continuous process. And it's something that's going to continue to evolve. So there really is no destination, if you will, in digital transformation. Sorry, guys. So the only thing I would leave you with is just kind of how would you think about your models and how you would apply something like this, in your societies, in your world. So thank you.
Susan, thank you very much. We have hit the 3 o'clock mark. So I don't want to keep you late. I'd be happy to take one question from the audience, or if you'd like to come up and talk to the speakers directly. Angela?
How many staff people did you need to add to these initiatives? We have a total staff of 21 people. So I was pretty much the only staff person we added full time, but we do have, consultants and interns and, a hodgepodge of other individuals who help us here and there, but we really didn't add a tremendous amount of staff to do this.
Good question. All right. Well, we will wrap up. Would you like to join me in giving the speakers a round of applause and thank them?